forget to say this because it's gonna be on the final. Okay, so dynamic frequency tuning, what does dynamic mean?
Adjust.
Adjustable, movable, right? You can change. Okay, frequency,
The range.
what's frequency? Literally, what's frequency? No.
Waves.
Electromagnetic.
The
The
amount
number of events
given
in a
in
one
a given
cycle.
amount of time, okay? But in ultrasound, the frequency is how many pulses the machine is sending out in a given amount of time, right? And what about tuning? What does it mean to tune?
To adjust.
To adjust to get something to a point where you want it, right? Like if you tune an instrument, if it has to be the note of a C, you adjust the string up and down to make it. Is it there?
Yes.
This, okay, cool. Thank you. Okay, everybody better everything away?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Oh my god.
Alright, so when we tune something, we adjust it to the point where it's perfect, right, where we want it, right? Okay, so put this all together, what do you think that means? What do you think it means, Vanessa, in your own words? Putting all those definitions together, okay, so our pulse is changeable, can we change the frequency of the machine? No.
Or adjusting the given events in.
So selecting only certain frequencies. and-
Okay, that's exactly what it is, okay? So what does our machine have naturally because it has a vacuum material?
Shorter pulse.
Yes, but what's the result of that? Bandwidth, right?
Oh, okay.
A bandwidth, and what is a bandwidth?
The range of pulse, the range of
It's a-
frequencies.
Yes, it's a range of frequencies, okay? So, when our transducer sends out those frequencies, let's say that our fundamental frequency is 5 megahertz, but there's a bandwidth, right? There's a bandwidth, so it can go like 4 frequencies above and 4 frequencies below, so now we have 12 bandwidths, right? Or, sorry, we have 9 bandwidths, right? Or 9 frequencies, that's our bandwidth. Okay, so with dynamic frequency tuning, we could pick and choose exactly which frequencies we're gonna use to make our image.
Mhm.
Okay, so where do we want high frequencies? So what type of imaging?
Superficial.
Superficial imaging, right? Okay, MSK, soft parts, vascular, right? Okay, and where do we want low frequencies?
That
Deeper structures, such as general abdomen, right? Okay, so with dynamic frequency tuning, we could actually pick and choose the frequencies that we use to make our image. Okay? So, for dynamic frequency tuning, recall that short pulses are needed for better axial resolution. As a result, the short pulses create a large bandwidth. And what creates the bandwidth? Or what creates the short pulses?
The backing.
The backing material, okay? Systems with dynamic tuning use only the high frequency part of the reflected pulse. Systems with dynamic tuning use only the high frequency part of the reflected pulse to create the superficial portion of the image. The lower frequencies are used to create the deeper portion of the image. Okay, so this means instead of using the entire bandwidth to make the entire image of the liver, it's going to separate the frequencies. Okay, so it's going to use the high frequencies to get the anterior part of the liver, and it's going to use the lower frequencies to get the posterior part of the liver. Okay, does that make sense?
Can you
Yeah,
say that
but-
again?
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. All right, so our transducer sends out a pulse, but these pulses are short because of the vacuum material, right? Okay, that creates a bandwidth. Okay, so instead of having one frequency, we have a range of frequencies. Okay, so with dynamic frequency tuning or dynamic tuning, we can pick and choose, or we could allocate the frequencies to image a superficial part or a deep part, depending on the frequency of the pulses. Okay, so,
Choose from the bandwidth or?
yes, it chooses from the bandwidth, okay? So let's just imagine, where's my deliver over here? Ah, here it is. Okay, so, my deliver's right here, right? Okay, so we have our probe transverse on the liver, this is the anterior on the screen, this is the posterior on the screen, right? Which one is more superficial?
The
The
anterior.
anterior portion, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what does that mean? Which pulses will be used for that?
Shorter
A
and
higher
higher frequency.
Higher frequency pulses, right?
Yes,
Okay, higher frequency pulses to image this part, and then for this part, what will we use?
lower frequencies.
Lower frequencies, right? Because it's deeper.
Yes.
Okay, so why would we do that? What do you think would happen if we didn't have dynamic tuning?
It'll just all show either the anterior clear or the posterior more clear, depending on
Yeah.
where we have the, yeah.
So it would just flow the frequencies together, so we would have like, kind of like noise on the anterior portion, because there's so many echoes being used. And then on the deeper portion, it would be not as visible, and there would be noise there as well. Okay, but now we could apply the high frequencies to the anterior part, and we could apply the lower frequencies to the deeper part. And that separates the frequencies, giving us an optimal image.
The processing power, that's a lot of processing power.
A lot of processing power. Okay, these machines that we use are extremely powerful and complicated and advanced. They're amazing. Okay, you guys have any questions on dynamic frequency tuning?
No.
Okay, so we have output power versus receiver gain. When does output power occur? Adjusting the output power occur.
Turn it on.
Signal duration.
Transmission.
Oh.
Okay, with transmission. And how do we adjust the output power?
The power button.
Huh?
The power button.
The gain?
Can't hear you.
The power button.
The power button, yes, the power button. Okay, on the machines, there's a button or there's a screen. It shows the output power. Okay, on certain modalities, the output power starts at 90 and the output power starts at 80, depending on what you're scanning. We can crank it up to 100, and what does that do for us?
Improve the signal to ratio noise.
It increases the signal to noise ratio, right? It gives us more signal and less noise. Okay, now, when does the receiver gain happen?
When it's listening to the echoes?
Receiving.
When it's receiving the information back, okay? So if we increase the receiver gain, are we increasing the amplitude going into the patient?
No.
No. When we increase the output power, are we increasing the amplitude going into the patient?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so the output power changes the brightness of the entire image, so does the receiver gain. Okay, but this one is actually making the echoes more intense, and this is just giving the reflection, it's just making it brighter. Okay, it's not the actual echo that's more intense, it's just giving it, it's compensating. Okay, alters the signal to noise ratio, which means that it gives us more informational echoes than noise. Okay, does everybody know what signal to noise ratio? Emily, can you explain what signal to noise ratio is?
It is
Huh?
something about. Not in my own mind, I can't.
So noise is like interference?
Victor?
Signal to noise ratios, the, how much noise is affecting the image, so with the output power, you minimize that to get more of the image quality.
Okay, so you got one part, but remember, it's signal to noise ratio. In order for there to be a ratio, it has to have two components. Okay, so you have half of the definition there. What's he missing? Huh?
So what's it, like,
So he talked about the noise.
so it's like the ratio between the information that is being sent and received compared to the contamination?
so you combine them together. Okay, so it's the ratio of useful information, okay, which is like the stuff that we want on the image, and the noise. Okay, so we increase the output power, we are increasing the amount or the intensity of the useful information. And we are lowering the noise, or the information that we don't want,
Which is the low level echoes.
the low level echoes. Okay, now, receiver gain does not affect the signal to noise ratio. Why is that?
You don't
It's just, it's
It's
only
just the-
listening, it's not
that's
just putting out the.
Yes, all that is right. Yes, okay, everything that you guys said is right. Okay, so it's not the actual amplitude of the information that's going out that's increased. It's just making that picture brighter. Okay, so it's like, it's like on your phone, right? You take a picture that's kind of dark and you can adjust the brightness on it. Okay, that's exactly what the machine does, okay? So the picture itself is still dark, right? But we can compensate by increasing those images. Okay, so what we do, if we turn up the gain on an image that has a low signal to noise ratio, we're just making the noise brighter. Okay, it's not gonna take away the noise, it's just gonna make it brighter. Okay.
It's amplifying.
Yes.
So when you say low signal to noise, is it low signal or low noise?
Okay, so it's the ratio, it's a ratio that we're talking about. Okay,
Okay.
so it's low signal to noise ratio. Okay, so which one has a higher ratio? 50 to 50 or 75 to 25? 75 to 25, right? Okay, so that's a higher ratio, higher signal to noise.
Oh, I get it.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Output power alters patient exposure. What does that mean?
They have a high, the bio,
Bioeffects, okay? So how is it altering the bioeffects by increasing the output power? It amplifies what's going into the body, is that good or bad?
bad.
It can be bad over a long period of time, right?
Mhm.
Okay, it could cause cavitation or tissue heating, okay? So if our image is too bright, okay, hold on. Okay, let's look at this first. Okay, does not change patient exposure, why?
It's only listening.
It's not the power
Because-
that's increasing, we're just increasing the brightness.
It's just the brightness, right, of the information that's already received.
Mhm.
Okay, it's already in the system, we're just making that picture brighter. Okay, we went over the bioeffect concerns, no bioeffect concerns, because it's not the actual, so it's information that's already in the machine that we're just making brighter, that we're compensating for, right? Okay, so it says to decrease the output power first if the image is too bright. Why would we decrease the output power first?
Because the bioeffects.
Because of the bioeffects. Okay, so if our image is too bright, that means that we could lower the output power and keep that patient that much safer. Right?
I have a question,
Yes.
like how long is too long for like maximum of the output power?
18 hours.
18, okay.
18 hours.
Like continuously
18
or,
hours or 18 minutes?
oh,
Big difference.
18 minutes?
No, but like I'm saying, it's 18 staying in that same position.
Oh, so
without-
continuously.
Yes, continuously, so.
How many minutes then?
Oh man, I can't remember exact
Who's
number,
gonna
but
scan
I will
18
find out for you,
hours?
okay? I will find out for you, but you would have to continuously put the probe there and leave it in that same area without moving it at all,
Oh, okay.
okay? So like if you wanna get back at your boyfriend or husband and make them sterile,
Oh. Okay,
Will
Paul.
Will they feel the heat? Will they feel it like getting warmer?
I think so. I mean, like, it would just take
What's that?
a temperature increase of 1
Yeah.
degree Celsius to cause an alteration in the tissue.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can definitely feel when you have a fever, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it went up 2 degrees and you already feel like crap. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so again, why do we increase this one? You know, the image is too bright first.
By effects.
Because by effects, okay, to lower the chances of bioeffects, right? Or to decrease the chances of bioeffects. Okay, now if our image is too dark, we increase the receiver gain first. Why?
Because it doesn't affect the bio.
Again, for
Bioeffects.
bioeffects, okay? We want to limit the exposure to our patients, so if it's too dark, we increase the receiver gain first. And what if it doesn't work?
Then you can,
Then we increase the output power. Okay, but don't increase it all the way or off the bat. See what increasing it 1% does to each image, okay? Just don't go from 80 to 100 just because. Especially when you're doing OB. ALARA, what does ALARA mean?
as low as reasonably achievable.
As low as reasonably achievable. Okay, so what is ALARA relative to?
Bioeffects.
Bioeffects. Okay, so we want to limit the exposure to our patients. Okay, so we do things as low as reasonably achievable. Okay, this is why we do exams in 20 minutes. Okay, because technically we can take our 10 as a need, right? Okay, but we want to limit the exposure to the patients. Okay, so when entire image is too bright or too dark, adjustments need to be made. Okay, so if the image is too bright, what do we lower first?
Gain.
The
The
output power.
gain.
Output power. Okay, if the image is too dark, what do we increase first? The receiver gain, okay? Because of ALARA, because of bioeffects. Okay, so ALARA states that when modifications to either output power or receiver gain can improve the image's diagnostic quality, the first and best choice is the one that will minimize the patient's ultrasound exposure. Okay, so this is why if it's too bright, that means that we could lower the exposure by lowering the output power. Okay, if the image is too dark, first increase the receiver gain, which does not increase patient exposure. If the image is too bright, first lower the output power, which decreases patient exposure. Okay. Is there any questions on this chapter or this PowerPoint? No?
Not right now.
Not right now. Okay, we can go through the first couple of slides of the next PowerPoint. Okay, displays and image processing. Okay, so you guys remember how I was manipulating the grayscale on the machines the other day? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, so if I decrease my dynamic range, what happens to the image?
It's gonna get darker.
Quality, black and white.
It's black and white.
Yeah,
Okay, black and white. And what did I say that was also called? Bistable. Okay, now if I increase my dynamic range, what happens?
Gray.
Brighter, more
More
clear.
shades of gray.
There's more shades of gray, that's called grayscale. Okay, and what is dynamic range called? What else is it called?
It has something with frequency?
Mm.
It was like,
Was it compensation?
Almost. Sounds like compensation.
Compression.
When you,
Compression.
compression, you say compression.
Compression.
Thank you, Noel. Compression. Okay, compression or not compression, and what are we compressing?
In the gray scale?
The number of choices, right? Okay, so how many shades of gray can we see?
1.
20. Okay, so the machine compresses those 20 into a way that's more manageable for the machine to show or to not show the amount of shades of gray. Okay, the more shades of gray, the more grayscale it is. The less shades of gray, the more bistable it is. Okay? So bistable images are composed of black and white, and grayscale images are displayed in multiple levels of brightness. The different levels of gray represent echoes of different amplitudes. Okay, so why would they have different amplitudes?
The brighter ones have higher.
Well, why?
Of
Because
the,
they have
the
different
noise
tissues.
to,
I heard tissue. Who said tissue?
It's different tissue, so it's different
Okay, so
shades.
what happens to the different tissues?
It has different shades of gray. Oh.
But why?
they have different
So
propagation.
Because they have different.
Different propagation speeds, different attenuation rates,
Uh-huh.
different absorption rates, right? Okay, so what happens with bone? What happens to the sound of bone?
It
It
attenuates all the
attenuates.
way, all of it.
If it attenuates all the way, then we won't have it, then we wouldn't see an image, right? Well, what does bone look like in ultrasound?
White.
What?
What? What was the question?
What does bone look like on ultrasound?
Oh, hyperecho.
Hyperechoic, right? It's a big hyperechoic line.
Right, yeah.
Posterior to the bone, however,
Shadow.
it's anechoic and posterior shadow. Okay, but why is the bone so bright?
Because it's
The
dense.
noise.
Well,
It's
attenuated.
attenuating.
It's
All the
attenuating.
noise is attenuating.
It's bouncing back. It's bouncing back.
Oh, there's no
Ah,
attenuation.
okay, so you guys remember, if there's a bigger difference in
Oh.
impedance, there's more reflection,
That's right.
right?
But the gallbladder sucks up all the, okay.
Okay, so the bone has a different impedance than that of soft tissue, right? Is the difference minimal or is it large?
Lord.
Large.
It's large.
Yeah.
So there's more reflection, right? More reflection means that it's going back towards the probe at a faster rate, right? With less attenuation because it doesn't travel anywhere throughout the bone, it just bounces right back. And that's why it looks so bright. Okay? What about fluids?
Their transmission, through transmission.
There's through transmission, right? Which means that there's no reflections going back. That's why it looks dark.
Yes.
Okay, so that's why we have different amplitudes. So which one of those has a higher amplitude, bone or fluid?
Fluid.
No,
Bone.
bone. Okay, fluid does not have any amplitude because it doesn't have a reflection.
That's right.
Okay, so bone has a higher amplitude. Okay, and what is the difference between bone and fluid?
The
Bone is
density
dense.
and the stiffness.
Stiffness, okay, they're different tissues, right?
Yeah.
Does everybody understand? Okay, so display controls. Contrast. Determines a range of brilliancies within the displayed image. Okay, so if we have good contrast, what does that mean?
You're able to
Black
tell
and white?
different tissues.
Distinguish.
Yes, you're able to distinguish the different types of tissues. Okay, do we want good contrast?
Yes.
Okay, so this is gonna be one of our resolutions, okay, contrast resolution. Okay, so contrast is the ability to the machine to accurately display the different types of tissues. Okay, so how do you think we go from this to this?
Or gain.
Okay, what do you guys think?
Yeah, again,
Maybe output.
Output power?
I would say the output power too.
We can adjust the contrast with the contrast one.
Oh, there is a contrast one?
Yes. And, okay, so what does this image look like? No, I'm sorry. Yes, this is a liver, yes, it's more than a pouch, good job. I'm proud of you. Okay, but describe the image itself.
Better on the-
Or like,
Bistable,
oh.
okay, it's more bistable, right? It's black and white, there's no in between, so what about this guy? Different shades of gray. Okay, so which one has a higher contrast? This one has a higher contrast, but where the contrast resolution is at. This one,
That's a question.
okay, because this one looks at that calcification in there, right? Okay, is this an accurate image? No. Okay, but more, okay, we'll get to contrast resolution. Okay, brightness determines the brilliance of the displayed image. What determines our brilliance, or how can we influence the brilliance? The gain, right? The 2D gain, the receiver gain. Okay, you can make it really bright, which is this one right here, or you can make it very low. Is this bistable? No, this is not bistable, right? It's just dark. The whole thing is dark. Bistable, black and white. Okay, so this is still grayscale, but it's dark. Okay, this is too high, and this is exactly where we want. It's kind of like the Goldilocks, right? You need to find that perfect balance between having high contrast, low contrast, high brilliance, low brilliance, high frequency, low frequency. Okay, so everything that you guys do to the machine is influenced by physics. Okay, it's not just pushing a button. You're changing the physics of the machine and how the sound propagates through a patient.
But you said like brightness is like personal preference. Is like
Brightness is subjective
yeah, subjective.
To the sonographer, correct?
to the sonographer. Yes, what I think my setting is good. You may think it's too bright or too dark. Okay, but as long as we're getting the message across to the radiologist, it's fine. Okay, it's very, very subjective. Okay, we'll go ahead and stop there. Yes, Paul.
I was gonna say, like the high contrast one, in my opinion, I thought at first that was the one that we would have wanted, the kind of image, but we actually would want, in this case, the low contrast one. because
Well,
they're-
we want medium contrast. Okay, because, yes, this is too bistable, it's making things look like they're calcified, right? Okay, this one, you really can't tell the difference between the tissue of the liver and the cortex of the kidney. Okay, some of the kidney, yes, okay, but we need to find that balance where it's not too high contrast or too low. It needs to be right in the middle, because we need to see the differences in the tissues. Okay, because that's how we also tell pathology, right?
Yes.
So if our pancreas is hyperechoic to the liver, then we can say that maybe that patient has pancreatitis. Or if the liver is hypoechoic to the kidney, there's definitely something wrong with the liver, right? Okay, so we need to be able to tell those differences between the brilliances and the amplitudes of those tissues to make a diagnostic image as well. It's not just having your focus at the right point and having everything too high or too low. No, we need to see the overall difference in everything. Is there any questions? Are you sure? I have half an hour left.
Do you have a quiz on Monday? Do you have a test on Monday?
You will have a test on Monday.
I knew it.
Test.
Test and lecture or just test?
Test
Just-
and lecture, it's only be 20 questions.
Doesn't it involve
The
this
first
one?
PowerPoint?
No, not this one.
Oh, the other one, okay. The
Yes.
The
pulse.
post echo?
Yes, the pulse echo instrumentation, PowerPoint, the entire PowerPoint, okay?
Fill in the blanks?
It's gonna be like the other test that
Okay.
you gave me. I have your quizzes, if you wanna look over them really quick, they're still back, okay?